Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. The real question is, can you hear me? I think you can. I'd prefer not using the mic. And then I got a call that this association now has this. Hi, how you doing? So anyway, Plano retail real estate, Collin County retail real estate, and actually maybe Texas retail real estate. Maybe it's the center of the retail universe. I just wanted you to think about that as a theme. And by the way, where's Kelly? Kelly Hansen is my dear friend, and she was here a year ago, and she's already told her father that I actually do work, and so I'm here. Let me tell you about our company. I'm so glad that Mark called. There's so many exciting things happening in this part of the country from a retail perspective, and I really think we are at the center of really what's happening. Let me tell you about our company, Weitzman. We used to operate under the following brand labels: The Weitzman Group, which is a brokerage services company, and CCAR Realty Services, which was an asset services company. We now, after 25 years, have basically rebranded our entire operation. You can go to our website and you can see a new color palette. You might have seen around the marketplace our new signs. Matter of fact, rebranding created a great sense of wealth for our sign company. We have over 1,050 wooden signs in DFW alone, if you could imagine that. Anyway, so we've changed this, and I want you to know a little bit about it, why I would be able to give you some perspective. Our firm operates in Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio, and Houston. We have about 220 people, 60 of which are in our brokerage services division. Our core competency, while we have an office building business, is that we lease retail space for clients, for investors, for owners, a lot of work in the restaurant space. We lease 44 million feet of project space across Texas. That's a lot. And it could be a 15,000-foot strip in East Plano, or it could be a 1 million square foot power center in Austin, Texas for Blackstone, which is the company that just bought RioCan's portfolio, and they're a pretty big player in the commercial space. So I think that you know that we have some credentials, if nothing else, the experience. Much of the statistics that I'm going to give to you today are because for over many, many decades, we have a proprietary database. We track shopping centers in DFW alone, 25,000 square feet or greater, and we look for material changes in occupancy every year. And we try to get a handle on the market on that. And just imagine all the things that not even that size and less. So we're in a huge market. We have a tradition in the Plano and Collin County market. Many years ago, our executive chairman, Herb Weitzman, was active on the 75 corridor, getting into Plano and the growth beyond Richardson. And now, if you look forward, when the toll road came through in Plano, and I guess the Haggards really enjoyed the fact that back in the 1800s, when they got those 2 sections of land, that they knew the Dallas toll road was coming right through their property. It's just divine providence, I guess. But anyway, we've been involved, for example, just at one intersection at Parker and the toll road. On the southeast corner, there's a Tom Thumb shopping center developed by Weitzman. On the northwest corner, there's a shopping center that includes Academy Sports and the Kroger Signature Store, developed by Weitzman. And then we just recently opened up, and I want to go to this slide, what we call a restaurant park. It's West Plano Village. It's at the northwest corner of Parker and the toll road. This project is anchored by Eatsy's and by Kona Grill. It has a boulevard that goes to Tinseltown, because we did that deal, Herb did that deal many years ago when Tinseltown came in and did that deal plus their corporate office right there on the toll road. And so West Plano Village now is really an exciting and challenging opportunity. It's mixed use. Part of the property was sold for multifamily offering to Amley, and they built some very good product there, and they saw tremendous rental growth from the pro forma that it originally was developed under into what they're renting the space for now. It's all rentals. It's almost a condominium, a townhome concept, but it's very, very successful. The second floor of, and I need your help, for all of you that know some of your medical users, We've got 50,000 feet. Actually, it's less now. We've just made 2 big deals, but we've got space left on the 2nd floor of West Plano Village. Here's a site plan just to give you a little bit of an example here. Anchored by Eatzi's, and then you go through this boulevard. AT&T and Schwab are basically our non-food offering. Schwab wants to expand, and of course AT&T is just everywhere now, and they're a great corporate citizen for our region, obviously, and the world. Princi Italia, Medea from scratch, Pac Pal, Magnificent Royale Burgers. We're in discussion with other retail food offerings, and so we're pretty excited about this property. And this is mixed use, and you can also see right here that this goes conveniently into the parking field for Cinemark. So it's entertainment. And one thing about retail real estate today is it's all about experience. And you will hear the term experiential. Wherever you go, whatever's happening, it's got to be a good feeling. And that's the result of the powerful, what we call the digital world, that's forced us into having a better experience at the bricks and mortar areas. Okay, let's go. Okay, I want to give you some statistics to frame the marketplace. And this is DFW information. Neighborhood centers, and in this picture, this is Hall Office Park. And we've just completed Parkside, a small 15,000 foot strip inside the office park with Craig Hall. And so these are these small centers that have migrated now to food and services, since soft goods and other people are not as active in those locations. You can see right now that the absorption last year was 1,078,000 square feet. Look at the change, if you will, from 2015 to 16, 86.7 to 89.3%. These are 700 centers that represent about 40.6 million square feet of our inventory. The inventory we track is just under 200 million square feet of retail space. That's 25,000 square feet or greater, just to get a frame of reference. So that's the neighborhood centers. Power centers. You know the power centers. They became the place. But boy, they've had to experience some real challenges. To give you one example, who all remembers the days, Linens and Things, Circuit City. Think about now the tragedy called Sports Authority. There's a huge transformation that's going on, but ironically, here's some interesting statistics from last year in DFW. If you look right here, the absorption was 197,000 square feet, but the occupancy barely moved up to 95.3, and this is a large block of space. It's 135 centers with 40.5 million square feet. One thing that is important about power centers, let me just make sure I let you know on this, is that they've now been becoming converted to other uses. You're finding grocers that are finding power centers to be more acceptable. They were never in that particular space. But that's an area that we watch all the time. I want you to look on this particular slide. You see Target. We have several properties where Target is in that development. Just a fun fact about Target, because retail is changing and retailers make sometimes wise choices and sometimes they make challenge choices. Target invested 5 years ago in a major initiative to expand their brand into Canada. It failed. Spent money and it didn't work. They backed off. But now you know what they're doing? Is that they are spending $2.8 billion in the U.S. Target existing fleet of stores to renovate them. There was recently an article about them. So if you see all the stuff that's happening in their parking lot, that's what's happening. And why is that? To improve the experience of retail. And they also are going to continue to fight Walmart from a pricing standpoint. That's a healthy thing for the consumer. Malls. Malls are an enigma. And we have one of the top 10 malls in the United States of America in Dallas-Fort Worth. It's called North Park. It's a gold standard. And for years, it's been able to do things that other malls have not. Now in Collin County, the comment about Stonebriar, been a great offering for general growth. Taubman did Willow Bend on the toll road, had some what a great battle that was. Taubman and General Growth fighting at that time. Some think it was a great battle. Some think it was not stupidity, but it was interesting, okay? Now Starwood Retail, a lot of money coming in. They're taking some of the existing real estate and they're changing. They're going to make a big deal called The Room. It's going to be an entertainment food offering. It's right there on the toll road. Again, trying to take advantage of this beautiful West Plano, Collin County strength. The one thing about malls is that, and we operate one, by the way, in the Metroplex called Golden Triangle Mall in Denton, Texas. But you need to always remember about malls, and we might as well talk about Collin Creek, okay? It's now being listed for sale by Avis & Young, a competitor with us. You need to know that those malls, all of the department stores own their property. Okay, so Macy's had their own, Macy's is trying to sell their box. Penny's owns their box. Does that make sense? And so what happens is it becomes very, very complicated. You know, the sale of the mall is basically enclosed areas. And then there's all kinds of reciprocal easement agreements and access issues that are there. But these things take tons of capital. But you don't have to look too far to think about what's going to happen there at Collin Creek. Look at Taubman's Mall, which is now Starwood, the Shops of Willowbend. A hotel is going to be added to the footprint. Office is going to be added to the footprint. They're changing the look and feel of the space to make it a destination in a very competitive market. Community centers. This represents the largest sector that we track in DFW. 470, almost 500 centers. These are the grocery anchored centers, 74.4 million square feet. I want you to look at one statistic that's pretty important. Absorption was 1.8 million square feet. In 2015, we've gone up from 91.5% occupancy to 92.3%. This is 75 million feet. And think about this. 10 years ago in Frisco, Texas, Weitzman developed a shopping center at Main and Teal. Kroger was our anchor. We built a 65,000-foot Kroger, and we built 60,000 feet of what's called shop space, inline retail space. We had a Chase Bank on a pad, and we did a deal with McDonald's. And that's another generation. Right now, today, if you go down to 121, getting a little, I'm not sure if this exact, it's not, Castle Hills Marketplace is not Collin County, right? A portion of it. It's right on the Denton County, okay. Castle Hills Marketplace, basically 423 and 121. Our anchor, 10 years later, Kroger Marketplace. Kroger Marketplace, 125,000 square feet. Not 65, 125. And what's inside of it? Jewelry offerings, apparel, hard goods, along with an upscale menu of food offerings, from grab and go to sushi and whatever else you want. We only built 30,000 feet of strip space, and it's all facing the street. It's right on the street, and it's made up of food and other service tenants. And then that particular project has 7 pad sites. 1 financial institution, which by the way is not a bank, it's a credit union, and the other 6 are all food. See the climate? Of course, food's a big driver. So anyway, this is a very healthy part of our deal. And right now, just so you know this, Walmart 380 and 423, you know, that's in motion. You know, Kroger's got a deal or two there. They're all kind of looking for rooftops. Retail really follows rooftops. That's why we love being here and invited to share stuff, because what you're doing is what makes our retailers thrive. It's called customers and sales. So that's community centers. Mixed use. This is pretty important in Plano because most of the new development that you're hearing about in Plano is mixed use oriented. These statistics are pretty interesting. In this big market of 200 million feet that we track, this only represents not even 600,000 square feet. We only measure the retail in those mixed use portions. So we only measure the retail. So for example, with 245 units of multifamily at Parker and the Toll Road that Amley developed, you know, we only have 50,000 feet of retail that we're doing, okay, just to give you how we measure this. But look at the increase. It's holding there. There's 34 projects. We track about 6 million feet. So this year, at the beginning of the year in January, when we did this presentation at the Bush Institute, and we had Marvin Ellison, by the way, the chairman of Penny's, we had a fireside chat with him. It was pretty instructive, and I'll share some of those comments later. But here's what we think is going to happen through the balance of the year. We think occupancy across the board is going to be 93% retail, 3.4 million square feet, and 4 million square feet of absorption. The one thing about the health of the market is that even though you see a lot of cranes, most all of the commitment for many of the new retail projects are already in line. They're already in place. No one's going to do the deal without Kroger. No one's going to do the deal without Sprouts or Albertsons coming in and doing another deal. So this is kind of what we think we're doing. Now let's take the greater Collin County marketplace and let's look at 2010 just for some statistical comparison. The total retail market was about 29 million feet. There's about 3.4 million square feet vacant for an 88.7% occupancy factor. What a difference 7 years makes. Let's look at this, 2010 to 2017. The market has increased modestly, but look at the vacancy. What's happened is it's leased. From 88 to 92%, that's a big, big level. And let's think about retail in terms of occupancy rates. Existing real estate that's maybe tired or of a different vintage. We lease a property at Legacy, and it's called Legacy Drive Village. It's a Kroger-anchored shopping center in East Plano. It's nestled in a great residential area. Kroger's on a long-term lease. And that property, we were losing some, that was part of the erosion because people were moving what? West to newer product. Well, now that property is almost 98% leased, and we have a new level of tenants in addition to food offerings, services for the community, bricks and minifigs, which is a Lego play opportunity for moms to bring their kids. I mean, the world is changing, and every good retail ideal, someone always told me that always remember, none of the good ideals are taken. I mean, it's not all of the good ideals are taken, meaning there's another retailer that's going to come up with the concept that can make it work, especially in a growing population. So this is the contrast. Now here's the game changer, and let's just look by the numbers, and all of you know this. The Shops of Legacy at its time was so desirable, and it still is. I mean, Femi Carahan sold that to Inland, a major REIT. It's now called RPAI. It's one of their flagship holdings, just like the Shops of Southlake in Southlake. But Femi went across the street, and here's Legacy West by the numbers. Pretty exciting. $3.2 billion project, if you add all the moving parts. 20,000 net new jobs. One of our valued customers is JP Morgan Chase. We help them find locations for their banks. We use them when we develop, and we sell things for them from time to time. They, along with all the others that you've read so much, from Liberty Mutual to FedEx, to all the others that have made a commitment for this particular employment center. There's a real good argument to say that the intersection of the toll road and 121 is the new downtown North Texas. That's what I call it. Because you think about it, it's got this magic aura to it. 415,000 square feet of retail and restaurant space, 350,000 square feet of Class A office, and that's going to grow, by the way, 1,200 residential units, both on a traditional sense, and then you're seeing high-rise development. Palladium's coming in and doing a big deal, and another was just recently. So it's really in 6 headquarters and 6 corporate offices. This is the game changer that we've all been talking about. I'll just let you know this. My company, we along with everybody in our space is going to Las Vegas the end of this month for the ICSC, International Council of Shopping Center Worldwide Convention. 37,000 people attend that, registered attendees. And there's not a retailer or an investor in the world that is not considering Texas at some point for something. That's bravado, but it's true. Not everybody's going to come here, but our population growth, the residential capacity, the available land to grow, and think about this. How far is Salina from 121 on the toll road compared to Salina to Uptown? I mean, excuse me, Uptown to there. I mean, there's more stuff's happening. We're going to be in Oklahoma tomorrow, I think. Okay. Let's talk about Legacy West, a couple things that you'll find interesting. Retailers, we're going to see retailers now coming from across the globe. There's more of an international feel. There's high-end stuff. Who's some of the new players? Suit Supply is coming in. I got a list of this. I have notes, I think. Oh, Barnes & Noble. You know, everybody thought the book category was gone. And it was with Borders. But Barnes has been fighting it. And this Barnes that they're going to put here is going to be the first Barnes & Noble with a bar. No, serious. And just so you know this, that the Hillwood, the Houston's people, some of their executives are going to be applying their expertise from a food offering for Barnes & Noble. And they're doing that across the U.S. in selected locations. And this is one of the selected locations. But as my colleague Derek said, Suit Supply, Tommy Bahama, Coach, Bonobos, Warby Parker Glasses. 3 of these names I mentioned all started as online stores. All of them. But guess what they have to have for the experience? They have to have bricks and mortar. So everybody thought that the digital world was just going to kill everybody in the retail world. It's actually become a great complement. We all shop. We all compare prices with this little unit. But if you really want to feel the hand of some merchandise, if you really want to see it, when Marvin Ellison spoke to us in January, and Penny's has been, in some situations, much maligned, in others, much praised. You know, he's come in and he's right-sizing their fleet. It's a hard thing to do, but he's doing it. And I don't know if you know this, but he also sits on the board of FedEx. And he gave us some interesting perspective about this whole world of fulfillment and shipping. Everybody buys online, and they ship out, but when they come back in the store, because it doesn't fit, or the red wasn't the red they thought they were getting, guess what they do in the store? They actually bring it back, try something else, and buy more. And there's an incremental increase in retail spending when this happens. And so there is this, again, this experiential theme that goes through all this. This is a boulevard in Legacy West from a standpoint of the food offerings. Del Frisco's, Dean and DeLuca has been sniffing around Texas, Houston, and Dallas. They're going to be right here in the shop in Legacy West. That gives you a sense of the prowess that Legacy West has in the retail community. Okay. Fogo de Chao is making a huge operation here. Shake Shack, many others. This, you can't read this. It's hard to display this. I don't care if you call it a platinum corridor. It doesn't matter what moniker you put on it. Is that Collin County and the contributing cities, they have raised the bar in the Metroplex for great housing, for great commercial projects, and for a great living experience. I liken it to what I do in my real estate business, and there's many people here that compete with each other. I think we exist in a state of co-opetition. We cooperate and compete with everybody every day. But when we do it with professionals that are striving to be better, the tide lifts and we're all sailing on a better level. To me, that's Collin County relative to the commercial side of the world. Clearly, you know more about the residential side than I do, but since we track you, we know about it as well. And just the sheer fact of what's happening here is, it's pretty exciting. Okay. And I added this slide. This is where it's risky and then I want to open up to any questions, and I've got some other thoughts. But Ian Pierce, who is my, by the way, take a shot of me. I'm supposed to be tweeting for Ian, okay, while I'm doing this. Anyway, Ian Pierce put this in at the last moment. This is a new information. Look at this the healthiest market index, a perfect score, and it's Plano. I contend that your market that you do your craft in is the bullseye. Does that make sense? So I'm honored. I'm honored that you asked me, Mark, to come back. I appreciate it, and I want to say a couple things. We don't see it changing much. We really don't. Our forecast for this year is to continue to moving forward, notwithstanding the bankruptcies that you hear about XYZ retailer or not, because there's always somebody else coming. But here's a couple of things I want you to think about. And this is not my retail Armageddon comment as much as it's just caution. Affordability. DFW in Texas has always been the land of more value for your dollar. And I think you know that as well as anybody. So what happens when these prices continue to escalate? You know, can people actually afford that? I think the mortgage business is certainly got a much better handle in 2017 than, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago. But all that said, there is an affordability. Talk about MySpace. The first proposal we got for a high-end furniture user at Legacy West to go rent 10,000 feet of space to a company that just opened up a store in Lower Manhattan, $60 per square foot plus the triple nets. And the triple nets are taxes, common area maintenance, taxes, insurance, and that doesn't even include utilities. So if you took 60 and put 15 with it, that's an occupancy cost of about $75 a foot. You're going to have to do a lot of sales to generate that. Okay. So I'm not saying people that can't do that, but every retailer we talk to thinks that in this particular bullseye, that the ability to achieve greater sales is absolutely real. Growth, income, employment. And so what's happening is, I just want to make one comment that this affordability issue, you still have to have sales. Retailers have to sell. So what are some of the small people in the sandwich world doing? From the Subways to the East Hamptons, and that's one style and that's another style, okay? You know, maybe they were 1,200 or 1,500 feet. Now they have to get their occupancy cost line so they're 750 feet, and they're trying to figure out how to maybe go smaller so that they can make their numbers. That's interesting. Another issue I want to highlight, and Mark and I talked about this, and I know it's happening year. I just left a property meeting for some of the properties that we operate, and we have an operational update, and right now the specter of increasing property taxes is more than real. It is in the commercial space, just like the residential space. We are contesting these appraisals, not only in Collin County, but Dallas County, and every other county that we do business in, because that's what I kind of call the curse of a great market. I've got the curse of a great market on my business, because if the market's 93% leased, retail, then what's left is not exactly the prime space, right? So it's harder to lease. And then after that, I'm not making as many deals, so my volume might be down. New development is hard, and it's hard in a good way because it's smart. We're not overbuilding. It looks like we're overbuilding, but those commitments are there. So anyway, I think the affordability issue is important. I think the curse of the good market is a reality, and we just have to deal with it regarding the property tax dynamic. But I'll just tell you this, as part of we're a Texas company, but we're involved in a group called the Retail Brokers Network, 56 companies across the U.S. and Canada, and we get a lot of input, what's going on. And there's not anybody that doesn't come here and is just taken aback by this energy, by this optimism, and then by this reality of what it is. So I really appreciate being here. We've got just a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, yes, sir.
So yesterday that despite all the talk about the Amazoning of retail and the fact that online is taking over the retail sales, that actually still bricks and mortar represents 90% of all
That's
retail
correct.
sales?
That's correct.
And online's only 10%. So my question is, since you're hearing it from people, is it mostly just the ones who aren't doing it well get all the press and everybody else is doing fine, or is it really a trend that is going to eventually start hurting the retail centers?
It's going to hurt certain users. If this is 100% of retail sales, online sales are now only make up 10% of that. So that's a lot of sales that happen at the store level. And it's gone from 3, 5, 7. It's meaningful. But what's happening is much of the growth that you're seeing now are internet that are internet immune, that are growing. The retailers are growing. The health and wellness, which is big in our business on our shopping centers, that's a service. From nails to hair to LightRx body sculpting, all of these things, you can't do them on the internet, okay? But when Bonobos, men's apparel, when Warby Parker, eyeglass, when anyone else goes in this space and they can move this, Untuck It, one of my favorite shirt brands, okay? It was an online deal. They just opened up in West Village. Why? Because people want to see the experience. We used to call it in our business omni-channel. A retailer had to have all these different things. Now that's just called retail. Mom and pops and the Container Store based here. Talk about how they're, all of these stores have to have all these channels to make the shopping experience better. So, I don't know if that answered your question. You had.
I do. What do you think the long-term prognosis is for Collin Creek Mall? Are they going to take it apart, bulldoze it, and do? I heard Harry, the mayor, LaRosier,
Yes.
talk about that they wanted to maybe put a hotel there with some like the kind of retail you've been talking about around it, and expose the creek that's up under there.
Yeah.
And make it more, like you say, experiential.
Right. We like others have been sniffing Collin Creek. Is that? I don't think that violates my non-compete confidentiality agreement. Okay. Yeah. Only in Texas would we build a shopping center and put concrete over a creek back during the hot days. Well, people don't understand that all this stuff that's happening there, they're just waiting. How do you play that? That's a huge cost, by the way. So again, Macy's is on the market to sell their building. Penny's would sell their building. Do you see what I'm saying?
What about Dillard's? It's sitting there.
Dillard's is interesting. Great company. We're dealing with them in Golden Triangle Mall in Denton, and their decision-making process is sometimes arduous. Okay, but here's I want to make a specific deal. We were talking. Everybody realized that's great real estate. I mean, as the crow flies, if you go diagonal, you have one of the biggest employment centers in the planet with State Farm. And, they just announced another large growth deal. Okay, so everybody wants to get this, but it's not going to be in the configuration that it was. Whoever gets control of it. And by the way, and I'm not a finance guy, I'm a marketing guy, but the mall is not owned by some developer. It's owned by special servicers for tranches of bonds that have been sold off 7 times. And how that's ever going to close, I don't know.
I understand there's 14 different owners in that big block.
That's exactly right. It's complexity at its height.
And tied with parking space that attaches to this.
Yeah. So, but what's going to happen there is that the road system is being improved, thank goodness. And what's going to happen is it's not going to look like a traditional mall. Midtown, that's another interesting story that's happening that's Dallas proper. at LBJ between Preston and Montford on the north side of LBJ. But as it relates to Collin Creek, look at what Starwood's doing. Adding hotel, adding office, tearing down some buildings, opening up more space, and all of that is for the experience. But I think that Collin Creek's going to take a while to gestate because it's so complicated.
Is it like, do you think in 10 years?
I think it's a legacy project, and I think it's a 10-year deal out. Yeah, I don't think it's tomorrow at 5, so I don't think. Okay, listen, thank you all so much. I appreciate it.